We shall go theme-wise. So now gender equality and disability theme we are taking. So I request Professor Bhavani Rao.
I will use this.
Yeah.
So somebody told me that this is a star-studded panel, starting with Gabriella the star, and so we're all co-stars. We're all like, so it is another star that you heard, and I'm hopefully that the entire session will go as well, but this is a hard act to follow, I have to say. So this is the gender equality and the disability group, and we have amazing people, amazing speakers, and I'm just going to take you through the technicalities of what we have done so far, since the path has already been set. The overall idea of what this group is trying to achieve has been already established by Meg. If you can go to the next slide. I'm not using my clicker, if somebody can help me. Yes. So we started with our inspiration, Amma, and since we are from Amrita University, Amma is the chair of the C20. Amma says, like two wings of a bird, women and men are of equal value, and without the two in perfect harmony, humanity cannot progress. So this is the benchmark we start from. And as we know, Amma is an exemplary woman leader. She inspires all of us to do our best, and her work towards gender equality has been outstanding. And I think many of us, and if you don't know, there's an exhibition outside. You can take a quick look and have an idea of what we've done towards gender equality. You can go next. Yes, so we did start by studying what every country has done in the past in the Civil 20 towards gender equality, and disability, of course, came in only last year. But since 2018, during the Argentina presidency, this is when gender equality became an important topic. We have studied what are the priority areas that have been mentioned, and it's actually quite sad. Since 2018, it's been the same priority areas that we see in existence even now, which means we've made some progress, but definitely not enough progress. It's the same topics we come back again and again to. So economic empowerment, gender-based violence, women's health, mainstreaming gender, gender-responsive financial, women-led development, women in the environment, women in decision-making. High-level points from the last few years. If you can go next. So we decided we wanted to have a framework. We just didn't want to go about it all over the place, have a structured framework. So we used a framework that we have developed, which is the AWESOME framework, which really considers the dimensions, the domains, and the context of women. So the dimensions are social, cultural, safety, security, economic, vitality, environment, education, health. If you notice, these are reflected exactly as the previous slide. So it has all the problems, all the areas of where the concerns are coming, but we approach them through a lens of looking at it from the point of access, from the point of awareness, opportunities, and mental space. Now, Meg touched upon this. She touched upon awareness. She touched upon access. Also, so we have also opportunities. Let me give you a very simple example so that you can think about it. Like, there is a girl who would like to go to school. There is no school in her village, so she does not have access to a school. There is a school, she doesn't know about the school, she's not aware of the school. There is a school, she knows about it, she has access to it, but her parents won't let her go to school. She doesn't have the opportunity to go to school. Her parents are allowing her to school, but she feels she's not good enough to go to school. The mental space is affected. So this covers the entire gamut of what all we need to do to make sure that actually something happens. And so that is the domains, and then the context could be at the individual level, at the household level, at the community level, at the regional level, national, global. And the challenges and the kind of policies that you would put into place will change a little bit depending on the context. And that's why we have used this framework to actually analyze the recommendations from the past and the recommendations that are coming in from all the conversations we are having right now. Can go next? Okay, so based on the framework and the recommendations of the past, we came up with the main sub-themes under this working group. We have 8 sub-themes, some of them that you've seen. from both the recommendations from 2018 plus the framework, we added 2 more. So we do have the education, skill development, economic empowerment, environment and disasters, society and culture, safety, security, physical, mental health, repeated concepts. We have 2 additional, engaging men and boys in the conversation towards gender equality. Very important. We know when this doesn't happen, everything fails. So we added this. And of course, disability, this is something that we have inherited from the Indonesian C20 presidency. It really deserves its own working group because it's such an important topic. But we are so grateful that we had the opportunity to actually work with the disability because the amount of awareness that it brought to us as a working group is just expanded our understanding. So I'm actually really grateful that we did have this opportunity, but of course, it really needs to have its own working group. And so yes, but disability will be covered by Nidhi in her presentation, so I won't touch upon it. All right, next please. Yes, and so we have mapped out very nicely the packed couple of months of events. So the way we started with an inaugural event after the C20 inaugural event, we have a series for every sub-theme. We have a series of virtual events as well as face-to-face events. The virtual events are like a wide net, drawing in a whole bunch of recommendations. The face-to-face events kind of drill it down one level, and then we have our main summit, which is going to happen, and I'll tell you about it, that will basically distill all this, because from 8 sub-themes, Meg, who is our monitor, will tell us that we only can give 4 recommendations to C20. Now, what is the most important of the 4 is the entire exercise that we will be doing in our final summit, and hopefully they're powerful enough that the G20 countries will actually sit up and listen to. And so this is our timeline and building up towards our policy recommendations that will then go into the C20 summit. And yes, so what we've done so far is we've had about 19 events, and we've engaged with about 800 people who have directly contributed to policy recommendations, side events where we have had more than 3,000 people participate. This is not including actually the village outreach that we have done. About 820. We've reached out to about 1,600 CSOs across the world, have directly engaged with about 850 of them, and we've had people from about 42 countries log in to our programs and give their feedback. And a few screenshots of those. You can go next. These are just the list of countries so that you can see. I think we pretty much covered every G20 country, if I'm not mistaken. You can go next. Going down, drilling down, what is the outcome of the conversations we have had so far? We know that physical mental health is important, but in that, of course, some of these are repeated concepts again. Maternal health, menstrual health, this has come up the previous years. Interestingly enough, improve data to inform women's transgender and persons with disabilities healthcare. This thing, the topic of data, that we do not have good data, is a very interesting new, it's not entirely new, but it is an upcoming important point in several dialogues, not just the C20, among the United Nations. It's something that is really coming up because we are moving into a more data-driven world with more evidence-based approaches, so data becomes super important. Can go next. Time is up. Oh, I'm only on my second thing. So I'm just going to talk only about the most important. There are some very common aspects, but very important over here in the disaster management environment is a very important, instead of women being vulnerable populations during a disaster, but them being actively involved in disaster management, risk reduction, and safety is something that is come up very repeatedly in terms of this thing. So this is environment and disasters. Can go next. Education and skill development, again, very important, need for disaggregated data to inform policy and intervention. Discriminative learning and skilling environments for women, and this is another thing that has come up repeatedly. And so these are the 2 points I would like to highlight in this. Next slide, please. Very, very important. Now we know that as people working on the ground, you can get everything right, but people's culture and people's beliefs and people's mental attitudes can just basically take everything and throw it down the drain. And we know that spirituality is probably a very good way of addressing it, but how do you build policies around mental space and human internal transformation? There is no clear channels on how you can actually define policies around it. So part of this sub-theme's challenge is how do you translate this into policy? And so they're going to have a whole host of conversations with people like Nobel Peace Laureates and other agencies to see how they can actually crystallize this and how can you can formalize this. Right now it is like on the side. If you talk about spirituality, it's like, oh, it's not really CSO work. It is. If you don't do that basic internal transformation, nothing is going to change outside. So how can you mainstream this conversation is something that they're going to be talking about in this particular sub-theme. Can go next. Economic stability, sustainable, super important. Somehow, because of the G20 focus and just because of the way the world works, money somehow is the biggest trump card that you have. And therefore, again in this, it touches again, it goes back again to the same sub-themes, they all get reflected again over here. The most important point I would like to bring out over here is one is time poverty for women. It's something that needs to be significant. We need to have technologies that can actually reduce time poverty, and we have to actually do trainings also on time poverty. The Brisbane goal, we are going backwards towards it. And like Meg mentioned, post-COVID, we really haven't done the right kind of measures to include women's voices so that we can actually go forward, and therefore, not as bad as probably the children's thing that was, but we're not going forward, we're actually going backward in some of these goals, and it's a great concern to all of us. Go next, please. Yes, safety, security. Again, a lot of overlap on unsafe working environments, which reflects also on education, reflects again on livelihoods, comes again in safety and security.
Bhavani, time is up.
Okay. Really, really quickly, ma'am. Sorry. It's really late. I'm almost done.
I'm so sorry. You are explaining very well, but what to do? We have other speakers.
From +2 from you. Okay, I'm borrowing 2 minutes of our time. Next, please, quick. Okay. Again, engaging men and boys, very important is, again, need for disaggregated data. But this is like a super important conversation that is coming up on many, many angles. Next. Okay, we started a campaign called 1 Million Nights on International Women's Day. It ends on International Earth Day. If you know anybody, and any number of people who have helped the cause for gender equality, nominate them. Could be your mother, could be father, could be teacher, could be guide, could be an NGO, could be an initiative. Please nominate them. There are tablets floating around. Go next, please. I have to say this. And I will skip the Udaharan, which is a great example of engaging men and boys towards gender equality and reducing domestic violence. Join us for the summit in Orissa, 22nd, 23rd of April in Bhubaneswar, Orissa. It's being co-hosted by the Kalinga Institute of Industrial Technology. Orissa is a very beautiful place with very rich history, a confluence of cultures. So please, you're welcome to join us in that conversation. Next. This is the team. This is only 26 people. We are 52 plus people working day and night on gender equality, and these are the only faces. And some of them are ridiculous pictures. Please, we don't have children in our... There's one with a picture of a child. Okay, we don't have child labor. Just pointing it out. That they just decided to send a picture like that. So just can go next. Yes, and these are our partners, and they've really helped us through the journey, and we hope that this page will be 10 times by the time we finish. And that's about it for today.